Something is wrong with the universe. It's almost 14 billion years old. By every calculation, it should be full of voices, full of signals, full of something. Instead, silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind that makes you wonder what happened to everyone else. The physics is simple. Enough nuclear weapons, enough fire. Smoke rises into the stratosphere, not the low atmosphere where rain cleans it, the high one, where it stays for years. Sunlight dims, temperatures fall, crops stop growing. Not because they burn, because the light is gone. Scientists call it nuclear winter, but that name is too dramatic. What they're actually describing is quieter. A gray that settles in, a dusk that doesn't end. The world doesn't die in fire, it goes dark. Imagine a Tuesday, somewhere ordinary, 3 weeks after. The explosions happen somewhere else. You're somewhere quieter. What you notice first isn't the cold, it's the light. The sky is white, not cloud white. Cloud white moves, changes. This white is still, like the sky forgot how to be anything else. Then you notice the birds have stopped, not died, stopped. Because birds rid the world through light cues, through a rhythm that no longer exists. And when the rhythm breaks, they go quiet. The supermarket's empty without drama. No crowds, no broken glass. Just unavailable. The supply chain requires coordination. Coordination requires people who are occupied now with other things. The electricity goes out in blocks. Not because anyone bombs the grid, because the grid needs constant human maintenance and the humans are gone. Then the cold comes in. Not violently, like water rising in a basement. Patient, indifferent. It doesn't know you're there. This is the part no one pictures. Not rubble, not screaming, just a world becoming gray, becoming quiet, becoming cold. And somewhere in the second week, the realization, late, the way realizations come, that warmth and light and noise were never fixed properties of the universe. They were an arrangement. Temporary, precise, arrangements end. Now, pull back much further, because I don't think what I just described is only a geopolitical risk. I think it might be an answer to the oldest question in astronomy. The physicist Enrico Fermi asked it over lunch in 1950. The universe is old, vast, full of planets, full of conditions where life could emerge. By any reasonable estimate, it should be full of voices. Where is everyone? One answer goes like this. Maybe civilizations do form. Maybe they get warm, get loud, get complex, and then something happens. A threshold almost all of them reach that almost none of them pass. Cosmologists call it the Great Filter. Here's what we know about technological civilizations from the only example we have. At some point, they build weapons that can end them. We did this in 1945. In the 80 years since, we've come close to using them. Not from malice mostly, but from error. A misread signal, a software glitch, a man in an underground room with 12 seconds to decide. If that threshold is something civilizations tend not to survive, then the silence of the universe isn't a mystery. It's a record. Worlds that got bright. That sent their light into the dark for a moment, and then went quiet. The gray sky, the birds going still, the lights dimming in the suburbs. Maybe that's not a scenario, maybe that's just what happens. Which leaves a question I find hard to answer honestly. What do you do with that? The easy response is, nothing matters. If everything we've built, every relationship, everything made with care, can be erased by a software error in a bunker, then what is any of it for? This is nihilism. It feels like clarity, like finally seeing without illusions. but I don't think it follows. Albert Camus wrote about the absurd, the collision between the human need for meaning and the universe's complete indifference to that need. The filter doesn't make exceptions for goodness. The gray sky isn't a punishment, it's just physics. Camus accepted all of that, fully, without flinching. And then he said, "The only honest response is not to surrender, not to look away, and not to conclude that because the universe doesn't care, nothing is worth caring about." He called it revolt. Not against an enemy, against the condition itself. Keep building, keep loving, keep making things that matter, in full knowledge that the universe is indifferent to all of it. He wrote about Sisyphus, condemned to push a boulder uphill forever, watch it roll back, push again. The human situation, effort, always undone. Meaning, always temporary, always having to be made again. He ended the essay by saying, "We must imagine Sisyphus happy. Not because the boulder stops, it doesn't, but because choosing to push, owning it, without pretending the hill isn't steep, is the one thing that can't be taken away." Nuclear winter's the boulder made visible. The fragility that was always there, given a shape. The question isn't whether the boulder exists. It does. We know it does. The question is whether you push. I don't know what makes a civilization survive the filter. No one does. I think about Tuesday, about the moment when someone in an ordinary suburb looked up and noticed the light was wrong. Not dramatically wrong, just slightly enough. I think about the fact that right now, somewhere, someone is maintaining something. A system, a switch, a small piece of the arrangement. Not heroically, just because it's their shift, not knowing what depends on them. We've been making light here for an eye blink. This warm, improbable, temporary arrangement. Cities and grids and supply chains and trust and the 10,000 invisible agreements that keep it from collapsing. All of it running, right now, on the accumulated weight of people who mostly don't know they're holding it up. The universe is very old. Most of it is very dark. And outside, right now, the sky is still the right color. For now. If something in this is still with you, that's what it was made for. The next video goes further into that question. If meaning is something you have to make rather than find, what does that actually look like? There's a link below.